Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Content and Consequences, where we focus on creators who blur the lines between producer, writer, director, and actor. Featuring live readings of pilot extracts and interviews with successful creatives, this podcast explores the process and aftermath of developing content. I'm your host, Jordan Lisbeth-Gelber. As usual, I'm with my amazing co-host today, which is...
Hi, guys. I'm Victoria Cherie Bennett. Welcome back.
Content and Consequences is part of Rogue Matter, a new digital content platform providing programming and entertainment that shatters boundaries and colors outside the lines. Join the movement. Go Rogue. RogueMatter.com.
Welcome back. And today we have one of my favorite people, which I probably say every time I introduce him, but the lovely and talented Brando Crawford. Hey, what's up?
Hey, everyone. I'm so happy to be on. Thank you so much for having me, Jordan.
Of course. When we embarked on this journey, I was like, I have to bring Brando Crawford on because of all the people who made content in the middle of a pandemic. I would say that you are probably one of the most proactive and inspirational people that I've come across. Yeah.
In the heart. Thank you.
Of course. So for everyone at home who doesn't know who you are, why don't you say who you are and what people know you for?
Yeah, so my name is Brando Crawford, as Jordan said. A lot of folks, they know me from a project I did during the pandemic called Acting for a Cause. Acting for a Cause was a live table read series featuring some of Hollywood's, young Hollywood's best and brightest, including Academy Award nominee Florence Pugh, Emmy nominee Margaret Qualley, among 80 other young Hollywood actors, and the support of veterans in Hollywood, such as Academy Award winner Kenneth Lonergan, nominee Jason Reitman, and the list goes on. And we were able to put on about 11 productions, raise $65,000 for charity. And besides that, I am a creative investor out of Chicago. I love to invest in artistic things like film, TV, and that whole world, as well as real estate and what I call ethical investing in real estate and stocks and the such.
Ooh, ethical investing in real estate? What does that mean?
So I think that ethical real estate investing is a lot more simple than it sounds. It's just the idea that that people who don't have generational wealth can start investing in real estate and hold certain standards, so that way their renters can end up investing in real estate and creating generational wealth for their, for their family, and so on and so forth, and kind of create a chain reaction. And those standards include renting to folks that remind you of you when you were younger. So I rent to a lot of single moms, and they don't have perfect credit, but I've never had them miss a month of rent because of creative solutions. I know that if there's a month that's rough, I know that we can work around it. We do sometimes bi-monthly payments. So it's about taking a much more personal approach. That's the gist of it.
You know, Brando, what I love about you is that you are so passionate about helping people, and it's pretty much shows in every single thing that you do. Obviously, the ethical investing and because of your story, and even just to acting for a cause. I think it's really powerful to see somebody in the spotlight not be afraid to kind of, I don't say help the underdog, but give a chance to those that don't normally have that. You're such a badass. Let's just start with that. So when it comes to content creation, I think what inspired you? Obviously, 2020 was hard for everybody, but what was the ding, ding, ding moment where you were like, I got to do something. I got to do something different.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a very anxious person. Could be a little bit neurotic at times.
Same.
Yeah, relatable. So when the quarantine happened and all of a sudden I had this big empty space and it was kind of just filled with the tension of who knows how long this is going to be. I would never expect it to be this long either, but that was the anxiety. It was like, this is going to change my life for sure. And I didn't even know the extent to which it would. And it almost, everything that I do first comes out of a sense of, I need to fill my time to feel stable. And then I feel guilty for wanting to do something for myself in a sense. And so that's, I think, why everything I do is kind of intertwined with this. How do I make it as ethical as possible, or make a change in the world, or be the change I want to see in the world, as the famous quote goes. And so acting for a cause itself came out of this kind of process of panic. idea, and then how do I make this idea, make a positive change locally. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden became this kind of national thing, and we were helping both hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital here in Chicago, as well as the Entertainment Industry Foundation, which operates on a national scale. And that's the gist of it.
And what was the first project that you did?
So within Acting for a Cause?
Yeah, so with Acting for a Cause, you have this moment where you're like, oh my God, I have to do something, and I want to do something that serves a higher power that's not just like, because you've been in the entertainment industry for a while, right? Like you started out as an actor.
I started out as an actor, actually dropped out of high school for acting. I was very, very passionate about it. Worked with commercial institutions like Broadway in Chicago, touring National Theater, as well as smaller houses like Steep and Tuda. And then I think that, eventually, long story short, I went into producing and produced music videos by various artists, from Bollywood to hip hop, and the last project I did right before the quarantine was Finn Wolfhard, an actor from Stranger Things and the Addams Family. He had his directorial debut. I produced that, and it went to a film festival in Canada called Fantasia, and won silver there. So yeah, I'm not a stranger to the world of producing, and what I wanted to do was I always want to bring classic plays to the screen, and kind of what a better way than kind of reduced to the actual performance of each individual actor, very intimate style that comes from Zoom. And I thought use the strength of Zoom, of being able to see everyone's micro expressions, and no need for any elaborate sets. And we started with The Importance of Being Earnest, Oscar Wilde's comedic masterpiece. And we chose actors from every single genre. So Moana, the voice of Moana, Auli'i Cravalho, Alex Wolff, who was from the horror spectacle Hereditary by Ari Aster, Justice Smith, who was in The Get Down, Baz Luhrmann, as well as some other franchise movies, and we just kind of the list goes on and on. It was a fantastic cast, and then we realized we had something and decided to do 10 more.
That's pretty cool. Brando, it's so funny because when somebody says produce, I always feel like that can be such a generic term, because a producer can mean a lot of different types of roles. So when you talk about going into producing, what kind of specific roles were you taking on as a producer?
That's a great question. So I think that the first step was I had kind of become disenfranchised with the industry as a whole, yeah. and I completely focused in on the world of real estate, and that's when I started my company Brando Crawford and Associates, where we bought, renovated, did a lot of adaptive reuse of properties, and what ended up happening was a lot of my friends that were in acting or in film were looking for locations. And what would start out was, we want a historic mansion for this music video. Let's call Brando and rent from him.
You don't say. I have a building.
Here it is. So, and then, we need a farm for a video. Does Brando have a farm? Oh, he does. Oh my God. And it just kind of goes on and on and on. And what would happen would be that having an actual creative background rather than just being the provider of location, I would get involved on those projects. And so at first my credits would be more than anything executive producer on projects. And then I started seeking out projects of my own, and I would ask a friend of a friend, what's going on? Okay, so the Vlog Squad is coming to Chicago and they're doing a show. Okay, how do I get involved? How do I organize and help market this? And so I kind of built up my producing credits that way. So in short, producing is a broad term. Producing can be co-producing, can be being the ultimate organizer of the entire project as a whole. I'm attracted to projects that are where many, many people are involved and there's multiple producers, and we all kind of split roles in a way that I'm never wearing the same hat. except when I am, so in some projects marketing, in some projects putting down, financing the project, and then helping distribute the whatever was gained at the end of the project. I think that's the fun of the producer, is that it's kind of like every project, you're starting a new business. Mm-hmm. And as the producer, you are the business owner. And so knowing from owning businesses, you are the person who's financing it, who's telling people where to go, who sometimes is just stressing over it while other people are doing work. And sometimes you're cleaning the bathrooms. It's like you find yourself doing everything at once. And I fell in love with that because I love, I didn't like that it was just acting. I felt a little bit helpless. I felt like a little bit like I couldn't control the direction of a project. And I always felt guilty as an actor. This is kind of a funny thing, but I think it's relatable, is if I would book a project, I would feel guilty that I booked it and someone else who put all their love and energy into the audition didn't. And when I didn't book, I would feel, overwhelmed by the fact that I put so much love and heart into a project. And I think that I felt like that whole process, there was a much better way to do it, auditioning. And so that's why I left acting. And I'm much more comfortable acting in projects where I'm able to, again, control the project, at least from an ethical standpoint, and make sure that no one is, their life is affected in a negative way because of whether it be the audition process or the atmosphere on set. And I think that was reflected in Acting for a Cause and why we could do so many play readings and not just one. It was because people were like, holy shit, this was fun. Excuse my language. I promise not to swear again right away. The first time I've ever sworn. No, but it was like people thought this is a... Alex Wolff came out of that project saying that was the most fun I've had in these 2 weeks of quarantine, and he called up Florence Pugh and was like, let's do this next one together. And it became a chain reaction. And in reality, it could have kept going. I told myself that I would take a break. And I think that sometimes it's the momentum that allows a project to continue. And when you take a break, your body feels it and says, nope, you're taking a long rest.
You need a long break. I think right now, though, The Great Gatsby just came into public domain. So,
right.
I'm just like, hey.
Absolutely on my radar. That was one of the first things that I was looking at what was in the public domain, and I badly wanted Gatsby to be. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that that's my favorite book that I ever read. And so who knows? I have some folks that were in prior play readings who I think would make excellent. I would love to see a Jacob Elordi Gatsby.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
That piece that holds such a place in my heart. I was named after Jordan Baker, so I'm like,
no.
Yeah, my mom. Yeah. My mom was like, no, see, here you go. No, I think it's so great. You've mentioned several times like being ethical, which you're calling back to what we were saying before. Being a producer, like we feel it all the time as especially female producers. We want to imbue the products that we take part in with diversity and opportunity. And I think that for you in particular, the opportunities you provided, because of the majority of the readings you had were exceptionally diverse. What was your passion behind doing that? No, I think it was amazing. I mean, we had come across that struggle all the time where like, especially in today's world, when you're a producer, as an actor, as fellow actors as well, right? You want to do something where you're making a whole community together where everyone feels heard. And I just want to say, like, from everything you created, I think that's one thing that really stood true, was that I think you really made sure that every sort of voice was properly heard in your readings.
Thank you.
Yeah. Of course.
That's something that a lot of people I think didn't notice, but it was something that I cared about from, it's funny that like Black Lives Matter and the protests happened about midway through our readings. But, it wasn't that I saw a lot of projects or producers shift their mindset right then and there, because sometimes it takes a big thing. But I was raised in such a way that consciously keeping cast diverse, I see it as a positive, not just from an ethical standpoint, but from, if I didn't see myself on screen in a bunch of roles, I don't know if my enjoyment would have been. It's broadening audiences is what it is. It's good. It's a good taking out the ethical part, it's a good business tactic. And that's what I try to convince people of when I'm on any project. It's like, this is the way to do it. But and of course, from my perspective, or at the heart of my intention when I do that, it's the ethical purpose. My mom's from a different country, and that was the driver there.
Definitely. Yeah, so why don't you tell about your family and like how you came to be the badass that you are. I'm gonna just keep saying badass. I'm gonna keep cutting it out.
I mean, like I feel like that's a curse word, but it's all right.
Not for me. It's an amazing identifier.
No, actually, no. I just watched the history of curse words on Netflix, and ass was not one of the episodes. So I think you're good.
Okay, we're good. We're saying we're good. Yeah.
So my mother is originally from Argentina. I mean, it's a pretty short answer. She came here. She didn't speak English. And what she did was she had attended a conservatory for piano and pedagogy. And so she started a school called the Language and Music School. So every single person she hired was from a different country and played an instrument. And they would teach the language of their country of origin and the instrument that they had studied. And that concept was what I grew up around. And so from when I was doing plays in high school to doing projects on a much grander scale, I think that diversity is central, and it has to be something done with intention. I think that you look at human nature, and I think people are used to what they're used to, what they were born around, what they grew up around. I have the advantage that I was born around it, and diversity, and most people were not, and grew up in a homogenous community. So I think that I always encourage people to make conscious choices there. I also understand how difficult it is, because it's difficult to go against human nature. But ultimately, it's for the betterment of our world. And again, it's another. I think it's a very important step for people to consciously make.
Definitely, I think in today's current climate with everything going on, I mean, we've had a very unique year, not only with like the pandemic, not only with the opening and closing of the entertainment industry and a lot of other industries, but politically it's been really hard for many people.
Sure.
Why do you feel, or how do you feel that content creation has the power to incite change? I know that like with Acting for a Cause, you were able to kind of like throw it out there, but in the grand scheme of things, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think that content creation, I think that people consume a lot of media. The statistics are there for that. And people, again, they are what they are around. If people who talk to me and they say that like they want to achieve in any area, and they're asking me on a personal level what my best advice is just meet people in that area and make them your friends. And then you'll be elevated to their position, because you're that I think that's again how human nature works. So in a democratic country, I think that the media has extraordinary power, because people consume so much of it that it does end up guiding their beliefs or ethics or morals. And I don't think the media. I think that this generation, like Gen Z artists, this up-and-coming generation, there's more activists there, which is what Acting for a Cause kind of countered on, and everyone really showed up for it between Gen Z and kind of like the millennial generation. But at the same time, I think that, how do I put it? It's like, I would hope that we're in such a complicated time where people on one side gravitate to hear their own opinion back to them and strengthen it and build it, and it becomes more harder to access the root or the inspiration of the idea, if that makes sense. And the other side does the same thing. And I think that's the root of the polarization that we're feeling right now, which is not a positive thing, because it means that I can't convince someone of my idea because they're already convinced. And, it's people people get stuck in certain patterns of behavior. And if the media that they consume has no diversity of opinion, I think that it's in our favor to include to not have, to make the agenda of media that we create have multiple opinions and be more complex rather than agenda-based. That's why, like, a lot of this classic literature, like Julius Caesar, for example, does a great job of presenting, something in a complex manner where people can leave understanding the complexity of the other person's opinion, in a sense. It's not like the whole thing is pro Julius Caesar or pro Brutus, or, it's like, whoa, people are complicated, and good people can be manipulative and conniving, and bad people can be friendly, and I don't know, the whole thing is, I'm talking in very general terms, so it's very like conceptual, right? But in short, I would like to see more complex media, and that the use of social media. I love the fact that we can. Like, I helped connect, after acting for a cause, Daniel Newman, Chelsea Handler, and Brandon Flynn, two of which were on my project. The team that kind of created that event had reached out to me, and I brought Brandon Flynn on board. They had reached out to me through Daniel, and kind of made that possible to help turn the vote in Georgia. And but at the same time, I think because the conversation on social media is so binary, I don't know enough about the nuances of the different political opinions. So I could be voting for or pushing for someone's vote that I don't agree with, maybe in a certain category, but we put people in categories of good or bad, not complex. And I'd like to see us being able to present on social media and, I guess, develop our attention spans to understand nuance more. I don't know.
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because one of my favorite things, I'm a musical theater geek, and one of my favorite musicals is Into the Woods. And what I love about Into the Woods is the diversity of the characters and the turning point where you find your heroes acting selfishly and you find your villains acting out of pain and love. And that's really important, I think, as a narrative to educate people on of the diversity and the complexity, as you were talking about. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's sort of like, this is what I'm worried about. My mom grew up in military government, Argentina. And so that government was overthrown, which was a positive thing, except for that the people of Argentina were so manipulated by the media that the new government that came in was bad to a different extreme. The economy was ruined. So anyone who had worked hard for some sort of it created a big economic disparity. And suddenly there was graffiti everywhere, which the military government had kind of had control over. And all of a sudden the pendulum swung to the opposite direction. And I'm just really worried that right now that's what we're going to see. We had a leader that was voted in and did a lot of really nuts, crazy things. And I think that the problem is when someone defeats him, Biden defeated Trump in this election, I am afraid, while enough people I think might be saying, or a good amount of people are saying, like, okay, now we have to criticize Biden, I feel like because everyone kind of voted him out of total trust, we're not going to see... it's going to be easier for him to pass policies that may not actually be in our favor, may be pro-corporation. And so I think that it's like Animal Farm. We overthrow the pigs, but now what's going to happen with the donkey who takes over, which is a great allegory of how fascism works. So my biggest worry, again, is that I think that we should trust our audience more to deliver opinions with nuance, and hold the media more accountable. Like, for example, Lana Del Rey said Trump was inevitable, and the media spun that in a certain way and didn't understand the nuance of her opinion. And now she's, seeing headlines that criticize her and what her opinion was. And so I feel like we're living in a culture that is pro-activism but anti-nuance. And I want to see pro-activism, but I definitely don't want to see anti-nuance and anti-complex opinions. And I love In the Woods. Side note. Side note's a great music.
If you ever want to do a reading of Into the Woods, you'll have me there.
Hey.
Maybe as the baker's wife if you want. I mean, I'm not gonna throw out any names and stuff, but I mean, if you want to go there, I mean, not to just go there, we will. But
it's such a unique time. Like right now, we're talking on Zoom. We're talking about social media and the power of your audience and who you're speaking to. I think with everything available to us, not everyone knows what resources are even there even have access to. I think for you specifically, a big catalyst to your career last year was utilizing taking advantage of the fact that you had all these restrictions and obstacles and how you overcame them. And I think, what tools you use, I think so many unique tools, but what tools did you find that you would never have expected, obviously Zoom being one of them, but like we never have expected became a massive resource to you that you're able to kind of control your narrative or really bring people to your message?
Well, I think that every industry has certain people that almost exist to make it complex to get to the top. It's like a sort of self-moderation. So for example, in the real estate industry, it's the actual bankers or the brokers and how seriously people take you within those checkpoints kind of restrict your access to the top. And if you're able to form relationships with bankers and brokers, then you can reach the top. It's similar in the entertainment world. There's agents, managers, and publicists. And they exist to sort of keep things professional. My idea, which kind of broke all boundaries, we were bringing plays for free, to everyone who wanted to watch them, and from established artists. That was, frankly, it was unheard of. Events like this would be ticketed. And if you see any other table read, for the most part, you had to pay a ticket in order to see it. And our was a suggested donation. And when we published these, they were accessible on YouTube, a platform that everyone sees, and on Instagram, a platform that everyone's on. And so ultimately, what I realized was in moments of kind of confusion and chaos, the barriers for entry, it's like people aren't at their posts as much, or they're more willing to participate in something unconventional, especially if the intention is right. And so what I encouraged a lot of people who reached out to me on Instagram that said, one girl really wanted this interview with this actor from this teen show. And they said, can you please, set this up? And I said, here's his PR person's name. Send them an email right now. Mm-hmm. I bet they have nothing better to do because everything's chaotic. And the interviews that would be coming from magazines like Vanity Fair or Complex, a lot of those writers are on furlough right now. And so an independent journalist like yourself can do this. And they did. And they had that interview and it was published. And, it was a college student who did it. So yeah, I think that I always rely on same with like real estate. In real estate, for me, I oftentimes the deals that I find myself in are someone, an elderly person who held a lot of property passed away and gave it to their kids in a trust, and they don't know real estate, and they'd prefer to have money in place of the property, and that's usually where I find myself is, hey, I have the money, you have the property, you don't know what to do with it, it's in bad condition, And that's where I find deals where I'm not, oftentimes, again, deals can be unethical. They can be manipulative. In my case, I try to find deals where I'm straightforward and the benefit goes both ways. And again, I usually go directly with the trust holder. I don't have to deal with a broker because they want simplicity and I want simplicity. Same with this. I talked to a PR person or a manager or an agent, and they broke the barrier, and I was texting the actor the next day. Or Brandon Flynn got me connected to Margaret Qualley by texting a friend who knew Margaret. And it was just like 2 minutes later, Margaret's like, hey, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy. This doesn't happen. I don't get a text from an Emmy-nominated actress interested in being directed by me over Zoom any given day. So sorry for the long-winded answers. I like to be thorough, and I come from the world of Shakespeare, so...
Well, I think, I love these long answers because, you're so rich of inspirational information. And not only that, you have such a powerful way of speaking. And I think one of the main purposes we even created this podcast is because we wanted to educate people that you can be proactive with your career. It doesn't matter what failures or obstacles or what your situation is. If you want to make something happen, it's available to you. Yeah, going back to say, I don't mind your long answers. I actually really appreciate them because, we found each other because we have a mutual, I have a mutual passion of producing, and I love watching people be proactive and create, content. And content is such a loose term now, but even for us, like, we were in this state of, what are we going to do? We're hungry to create. We're actors. We're sick of waiting for the job to happen. We don't know when the next job's going to happen. We're producers. We're sick of waiting for stories to come to us. We're going to go find the great stories and really make those voices heard. And that's what we came across you. And they're so, I think, rare to really find extremely proactive people. And that's why you being one of those people, I think it's important for everyone at home to maybe listen to us and hear the great things that you say and wake up and be like, wow, I could get great Gatsby's in public domain. Right now, I'm going to do this for that Brando guy. Speaking of you're good?
No, I was going to make a joke, but
no, please.
No,
please.
So my joke is like,
I hear the joke.
Yeah, so
I'm ready for your joke.
It's more of a quip. It's more of a quip.
Oh, she's going to get me. I'm ready.
No, it's fine. It's for Brando. It's not for you. You're good.
Oh, okay.
You're good. It's
a musical theater joke.
See, I'm actually not going to do a musical theater joke. See, she thinks she knows me, and then I'm about to throw a curveball at her. I would enjoy your long answers better if you could do it in an iambic pentameter. Can you do that?
Burn.
Okay, I will try that. that was iambic.
That was good. We're gonna bring.
I just like to challenge you first.
It was good. So you saw my reading in August, and it was directed by Thomas G. Waits from The Warriors, and he's one of my acting teachers, and he is such a like Shakespeare junkie. Like, it's in every pore of his being. And in his class, you have to do, the first thing you do is a monologue from Shakespeare, and he is such a stickler on iambic pentameter. It's so fun to be like reintroduced back into Shakespeare and just be like, this world we live in is not so different from where it began. But yeah, I think, you were talking before about those moments of chaos when you started and embarked on this crazy acting for a cause journey. What are some consequences, because I have to throw this word in somewhere, what are some consequences or hiccups that you came across that you were not expecting?
Yeah, I think that the first thing was, because it was a fast-paced project, I had to deal with, naturally there's disappointments. You're sending out a lot of invitations, you're hearing a lot of no's, you're hearing a lot of radio silence from different parties, and so, I think that there's certain people who I think are sharks who kind of like hunt down a certain person for a certain project, and they're great at that. And I'm a little bit more like the whale that has the giant mouth that goes to the school of fish and gets what they can, and a bunch of them escape, right? And so, ultimately there was certain actors who I really wanted to work with. And then there was 2 instances where actors who came on board to the project dipped the night before the actual reading. And those are things that I don't talk about openly because out of respect to them. But it definitely marked my opinion of them as people, because I'm very much always in the mind the show must go on. If the first one, they didn't. It was a little bit more inexcusable. It was for the first ever reading, and so I felt like they just lost interest, or they weren't going to commit to it. And despite having already been committed and already been 100%, like they were on the press stuff, and that was deeply disappointing, because they were the actor who actually inspired me to do this project, because they were on Instagram Live saying how disappointed they were not to be acting, and suddenly it came to me, and I was like, this is the project I'm going to do. It's going to be great, and if she feels that way and all these other actors feel that way, then it's going to work. It's going to happen. And every other actor loved it, and the one person whose poignant speech inspired it didn't. First said yes, but then didn't commit. And then the second time, it was someone who had feared that they had gotten COVID. But again, I've gone on stage pretty sick. I, at the same time, respect that second answer a lot more if it was coming from a place of truth, which I believe it was. But we did have to scramble like crazy to fill the parts. In the end, those were consequences of the speed. Those were also consequences of the industry and how impersonal it can be, and how people waver in and out of projects. I'm a little bit more. I come from a place where commitment and trust and loyalty to a project, those are values I hold. The industry does not hold, and so it's interesting to see how that influences certain actors, and it frustrates me quite a bit. I experienced that with Acting for a Cause, but I've experienced it with countless projects before that and after. Alternatively, right now I'm interviewing all the people running for our local election for mayor, for trustee. It's kind of like my off-season project that I'm just doing for fun, in this manner. But they're coming on site to record with me, and not a single person has, missed those interviews, because I think in the world of politics, there is no flakiness, there is no not showing up. There's a problem with dishonesty or overpromising, or not understanding the basic intelligence of a population when addressing them, and trying to manipulate. But at least they have loyalty. At least they have at least they show up. And I think that the world of the arts can do better. That was frustrating, but at the same time, no one owed me anything. It was a project where everyone was a volunteer, so I can't complain that much. What other consequences took place?
Maybe just in general.
During this past year, I lost a significant real estate deal because I was focused on Acting for a Cause. I definitely. There's an opportunity cost to doing any project, right? When you're doing an artistic endeavor and you're in the world of both the arts and business, or the arts and investing, they've done tests on people's attention spans, and you can really only concentrate on one thing at a time. And I'm someone who really focuses in on things. And so when I was working on Acting for a Cause, I had a successful bid on a piece of real estate that was amazing, and wasn't as neurotic of making the deal move along as I usually am, and that deal slipped out from under my feet because financer backed out, and I wasn't quick enough to replace them, and it was a done deal. They found a different buyer at that point in the middle of a contingency period, and that was right around the time that I was doing Up in the Air, and the reading of. What was the reading next? 12th Night, around that, in that period, near the, I think, middle point or middle to end point of Acting for a Cause's trajectory. That was another consequence. You're always, when you pick one thing, you're picking not to do another thing, or not to focus enough on another thing. But think it was worth it.
Definitely. I know we're gonna have to wrap up here, but I think the last question I really want to ask you is I know we see the word content creator, it's such a loose term. Being a producer, I think is the main thing. And that's what pretty much your role is. What has being a producer / content creator, what opportunities did it provide you that you didn't have before embarking on that journey?
Being a producer and content creator, and what opportunities I didn't have before. I think that
none.
He's trying to formulate it, and I am a pentameter. He's going to rise.
Yeah, I'm really thinking about what soliloquy I'm going to pull out of the pocket here. I don't read the fourth. So, anyways, I think that opportunity. I had the opportunity to become a producer because I stayed true to myself. And I stayed true to what my values were, and I didn't compromise or change them for the sake of an industry that I wanted to be a part of, and found myself in a producer role because of that. But in a perfect world, I think that my first love in the industry was acting. And in a perfect world, if everything was, if the industry was more of what I felt like it needed to be, I don't think I would be a producer. So in a sense, I don't know. I always create opportunities that I don't have, that I want. I take it upon myself. I don't look for them. I don't like to play the lottery. I don't like to wait for someone else to give me something. And so I don't think I've missed out on any opportunities as long as I've stayed true to myself. I think that there's been moments where I've been willing to compromise a little bit to kind of test the waters, and I think that's part of the process. For example, when I was acting, I think there was probably a 6-month period where I was considering leaving the industry, but I was still auditioning, and I was still part of that process despite having a bad feeling about it. And that came at an opportunity cost. What were you saying?
No, I was just making a joke that was very Star Wars of you.
Star Wars of me. What is that? I can't explain the joke.
Because you said
source material.
Sorry. You said I have a bad feeling about this. That's in every Star Wars movie. That line.
You're exactly right. Yes, the squid-looking guy. I remember that from A New Hope. I think it's from A New Hope, from the very first one. But anyways, it's timing is everything. And so if you are someone out there who's making your own opportunities to change the industry, to be more ethical, to do the projects that you'd like to be seeing, to create projects passionately with your friends, whether you're doing it on your iPhone or you're doing it on film or a red camera and at the top of the food chain. I think that it's just super important to stay true to your ethics and to not be afraid to say no, but be ready when you're saying no to then embark on the project of actually making what you would have liked to see when you first put yourself in the position where you would be saying yes or no. So again, when I was auditioning and I was finding myself, getting opportunities for different projects and eventually said no to that industry, I think that it would have been a sad thing for me to just have loved my passion there and then, without trying to find a way to at least change my little corner of my little world in this industry. So now I'd like for you guys to cue the music to Corner of the Sky from Pippin.
I was going with Cinderella in my own little corner in my own little chair.
I was in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I was a prince. And I actually went to prom with the person who played Cinderella and used the costume from 8th grade as my promposal.
That's
fun fact.
That's amazing.
It's great.
And that's the most important lesson we learned from you.
So good. Did you guys?
Do we have time for any other questions?
10 minutes ago,
Yeah.
Wait, did you guys dance to 10 minutes ago? I met you when we were. Did you?
Only in the musical. Only when we did the musical in 8th grade.
Lost opportunities.
Oh, God.
I should have paid off the DJ ad.
You should have had the two women that played the stepsisters off in the corner prom just going, why would a fellow want a girl like her?
Memories. I literally have not seen or heard that musical since I did it at 14.
You're
it's
welcome.
A good musical.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't have room for any more questions, although I could talk to you all day long. But
yeah, we could definitely.
How can people find out? First of all, we need to find out how people can find you, and then secondly, what do you got going on next?
I think she means channels, not your actual email and phone number.
Just drop your whole.
We mean your
social.
Yeah.
We don't mean your phone number. We're not gonna have random people call you.
We're like, can I be in Great Gatsby?
So this Angela.
Oh my goodness. I mean, right now, things are in an interesting standstill, I would say. There are certain projects, I don't like I'm the type of person who doesn't talk about things until they've happened. So if you would have talked to me the week I was creating Acting for a Cause and someone asked me what you're working on, I would be like, nothing. And then Acting for a Cause would come like 2 days later. And so I'm in that state right now. I'm working on a lot of things. The only thing that if people are listening to this from the Village of Oak Park or Chicagoland area and are interested in that interview series that's coming out this week, if you're interested in actual narrative work that I'm doing or newsworthy pieces that I'm working on, definitely look out in the next month. And my Instagram is @Professor Brando. And Acting for a Cause is @Acting for a Cause. I also have a website, brandocrawford.com. You can read all about, find Acting for a Cause on YouTube and watch the readings or, read about its history. I think we have like a Wikipedia article now, which was my goal in life. So check it there.
You don't read it once you've gotten on Wikipedia.
Yes.
I think like now that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to say the YouTube channel, the Instagram, no socials. Just find me on Wikipedia.
Yeah. That's all that matters then.
Like I'm also a Funko Pop now, so I've really made it.
It's so funny though. Yeah. No, it's so funny with Wikipedia, not to go off tangent, but like Wikipedia, it's so difficult to get a Wikipedia page. Like, I don't think people understand. There you go. It's really difficult to get a Wikipedia page.
It used to be easy. It used to be anybody, any Joe Schmo could go on there and write anything. Be like, this is real.
This is the best person ever. They have a PhD at 5 from Berkeley. You could just read it.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard, and it's verification on Instagram. It I think now you have to have like multiple publications cover you, and that's the quote unquote notability. It's not me who's on Wikipedia yet. It's Acting for a Cause as a project. So I have to do more notable.
You're not as important on Wikipedia yet. You're just the creator of Acting for a Cause. Acting for a Cause has superseded you.
It has superseded me, and so on that note, I'll go cry now. So
in your own little corner, in your own little chair.
Well, he can be whatever he wants to be in that corner.
I'm sorry.
God. No, thank you so much. You are literally such a breath of fresh air. I cannot wait to see what you do next. And it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for doing everything that you do. And do you have any other words of wisdom for the people listening at home?
But in an iambic pentameter, please.
Or musical theater references.
Well, actually, my quote from earlier is from Hamlet, "To thine own self be true," which is an iambic pentameter, and that is very, very good advice. And just make sure to put that into action. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, friend of Jordan. V. What is the name? Oh my God.
Oh, wow. I'm that memorable. He can't remember Monday.
I mean, you're full of references.
I'm full of references. No, I'm a queen. My name is Victoria.
Queen Victoria.
There you go.
Thank you, and apologies. This is my problem forever will be I am such a face person and not a name person. Jordan, just look back at past podcasts and you'll be like, where I'm like you, trying to avoid the fact that I can't remember anyone, including my own. anyways, thank you all so much. Thank you once again, and blessings on this podcast. I'm so excited to see every single interview that you guys do moving forward. I think this is such a cool format and such a perfect. I love that you continue to create and create and create, because I do still see certain artists who are just, they're so stuck in their past lives before the pandemic that they're completely stagnated and completely on pause. And some of them, you know, if there's anyone who's out there who's in that state, just don't be afraid to take some risks. People are allowing for risks to be taken. And every artist can remember that first period where they had to take risks to get where they were. So just do that again. Easier said than done.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. And again, this is Jordan Muzafielber and
Victoria Cherie Bennett. Queen Victoria.
Queen Victoria with
Victoria.
Content.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.